Hello, welcome back to Budget with Chloe. Today is the day I am revealing my net worth here on this channel. I've never gone fully into the numbers before or talked about things regarding my house. So we're just going to dive right in, and I've covered everything up as to not reveal the numbers right away. But let's get started with my assets, and this is for the year 2024. So, starting with my main checking account, this is where all my paychecks go into. This is where certain bills come out of, and it's where I pay my credit cards from. So, as you can see, it fluctuates quite a bit throughout the year here. It did start at $8,000, just over 8,000 there, and I ended the year with 5,400. So it did go down throughout the year, but this number does fluctuate a lot just because of where I'm moving things around. And I did open a couple of new checking accounts in the year, so that kind of explains some of that. On to checking account number 2. As you can see, I got this one in October, and if you've been watching my videos, this was the Simplii Bank checking account, the no fee account that I was getting a $500 bonus from for depositing my Uber Eats delivery checks in there. So a low balance here. I did get the bonus in December, but then I actually moved that $500 into this here, the Wealthsimple cash account. I just put that in there so that it can make a little bit of interest. I think it's at 2.25% currently. So that is just sitting in there. I also did get a $25 bonus from Wealthsimple that was paid out in January for opening that cash account. And then this is just my bank savings account. I think the interest rate it's abysmal. So as you can see, I wasn't really doing anything there. It was just collecting about 20 cents of interest a month. And then I actually was going to reduce the number to just what my annual sinking funds in ynab was going to be, so that I could try and hit my bank account balance minimum that I needed to not pay a fee. So I've actually zeroed this out now here in January, which in a future video you'll see, because it really just wasn't doing me any favors earning the 20 cents when I could be saving the $17 bank fee there. So as you can see, the total of my cash accounts at the end of December was $6,900, down from the beginning of the year, but things fluctuate. I'm not really too concerned with that. So let's continue on. Investments. I have a TFSA with Wealthsimple. That's a tax-free savings account for any non-Canadians that I just put $200 at the beginning of the year in 2024. And that is a managed account. The interest rate does fluctuate, I believe. And so it, at the end of December, was sitting at 3.55%. I did also put referral rewards into this account. So I did get $25 here in August when my partner signed up for Wealthsimple. And then a few people from this YouTube channel used my code and signed up. And so that went into this account, and that's why it jumped up there. And so I did end the year with $284.18, mostly from referrals, also some interest, but that one is okay. And then I have a TFSA, which was actually just some stocks that I had in a non-registered account. When I first learned about Wealthsimple a couple of years ago, I opened that up and then realized just recently that I could be not paying taxes on the gains from those stocks. So I only have a few, so that has kind of fluctuated throughout the year. And it says it's gone down. That's actually because I pulled money out probably between April and May here. I pulled it out into my checking to pay for something at the time, and then again here between May and June. And then it has grown. I did have one stock in there that was performing quite well in the last half of the year. So it's not that it's gone down $91. It's just that account has fluctuated. And then this one, I'm not sure how to lay it out here because it does kind of skew my numbers a little bit to have it just starting in July. But I do have a pension through my work, thankfully. And so I pay some of my paycheck and my employer pays some money towards this pension. And it is a defined benefit pension that I will get once I've worked for 35 years. So it was technically I was paying into my pension prior to it being vested here in July. I'm just not sure how to represent that. So when I show you my full net worth, I'll plug a number in here and just show you that it hasn't really jumped by as much as it seems to. It's just that because before July I didn't know exactly what my pension was sitting at, but now I can see a number close to what I would get if I pulled it out today. So yeah, that went from about $10,200 to $16,000 by the end of December. So that is quite exciting and makes me feel less bad about not saving for retirement on my own, having this pension. And then, of course, I pay into the Canada pension plan, which is like the social one that everyone pays into if they work for an employer. So that's good. And then my house, also not sure how to go about this. I just threw in the number that was on my property tax assessment. That's a grossly grossly underestimated value of my house. If I sold it today, I would probably get at least $50,000 more than that. But the way that the city does it, they listed it as that. So I just put that in just as a more conservative value. And of course that would fluctuate throughout the year too, but I did just leave it the same the whole time. And then this January, I'll get a new valuation from the city. So that is all of my assets. I do have an other assets section. I was toying with the idea of putting my car in there. My car's not worth very much. I don't have a car payment on it. It's quite old. So, and it's a depreciating asset, and I know people go back and forth about that. If I had a new car, or in the future when I get a new car, I would definitely add it in there to go against the loan being in the liabilities. But with my current vehicle, I'm content not having that as part of my assets there. So my assets went from $303,000 in January to $318,000 in December. So, I guess I didn't do a calculation for that there, but there's percentages up at the top with my total net worth. So we can take a look at that later. So on to the liabilities. These are all of my credit cards here, and these I pay off every single month before the statement due date. So I've never carried a balance on any of my credit cards. Thankfully, I've always been able to just spend what I have and not more, other than I was on the credit card float, which I guess is spending more than you have, just not more than you will receive with your next check. So I'm lucky that I've been kind of okay with credit cards, and I've always kind of treated them as like not putting money on there or charges on there that I can't cover. So I am thankful for that. So these numbers kind of don't mean much. It just depends when I pay my credit card bills, and they all have different due dates, things like that. So as you can see, it looks like it went up by $400 here, but again, all of these will be paid by the statement due dates. My HSBC one, that is the card that got changed into an RBC card when HSBC closed down here in Canada. I have a grocery credit card that I earn points that I use for groceries. I have my main credit card that is with my bank. And yeah, that's really all there is to say about that. I probably could have paid these down on December 31st just to go into the new year with no credit cards. But again, I pay them off by the statement date, so it really doesn't matter. And it just takes that into account that, we'll need to use some of this money to pay those cards. So just cancels each other out there. Okay. So if you watch my ynab budget with me videos, you'll know I talk about having a Peloton. And I have two charges from them every month. I have a charge for the monthly membership to use the bike. And I'm also working on paying down my Affirm, which is the payment for the actual bike. So in the summer of 2022, I purchased a Peloton for, I think it was about $2,500. And I had just moved into my house a couple of months prior to that. I did not have $2,500. I decided at the time that it was a good idea to put it on a payment plan. Luckily, it was 0% interest and will be for the entire life of the payment plan. This one for now, I'm just planning on paying it down until it's done, I believe, next year, unless I, came into a little bit of money and thought just pay it off. But for now, as I'm trying to kind of sort out everything in ynab and getting a month ahead, I think I'd rather just continue paying it since it's kind of being eaten away by inflation there. So I will just keep paying those monthly payments. And as you can see, it was about $1,500 at the start of the year. Now it's down to $850. So not much left to go. And yeah, another 0% interest financing I had was my couch that I also bought in 2022. You can see a pattern here. Maybe don't buy a house if you are not going to have the funds to furnish said house. But that's a story for another time. So I bought a couch that was on a 2-year 0% interest payment plan. I finished that one up in April of 2024, which I talked about being excited about because it was about $107 a month. So at the beginning of the year, it was $322. I only had 3 payments left. And so it was 0, of course, by the end of the year. And then I had a bank loan, again, 2022. That was, I found out that I had money owing on my taxes that I filed incorrectly regarding buying my house. So that was a learning lesson. I took out a $3,000 loan with my bank. It was 10% interest, I think, but baked in. So I'm not sure if that was better or worse in the long run, but it was the same payment every month, I believe. It was like a fixed payment, fixed interest. So I knew how much I was going to be paying for those 2 years. And at the start of 2024, I had $1,067 remaining. And I paid that off in September, which was a huge weight off of my shoulders. This looks really weird. Why would it be? I think this one I had trouble lining up the payments because I didn't really have a statement for it, and I wasn't sure how they were calculating interest, and also ynab was calculating it kind of weird in their loan section, so I must have forgotten to fix that. But I believe at the beginning of the year there was about $1,000 left, and that was paid off in September was my last payment. So a little weird, but it should still work out overall in terms of my end of year net worth. My mom and dad have been very gracious over the years, and when it came to paying for last minute costs associated with my house, like paying the lawyer and other little things like that, they did loan me some money, and I have been working on paying that back to them, not because they wanted me to, but more so because I want to. There's not really an obligation for me to pay that back, but just for me and myself, as and, when I can, I do like to send them some money and then they can invest that or do what they want with that. At the beginning of the year, my total was $11,400, and at the end of the year, it was $10,000. And again, no interest, kind of just working on that. If I sold my house in the near future, I would definitely just throw them that money from the sale of my house. But for now, I just kind of give them $200 a month when I can. So there's, not too much to say about that one. It's just, yeah. And then my mortgage, this one, luckily, I of course do have statements for. So I started the year, the mortgage was $249,017. What am I saying? $249,017.63. Okay, there we go. And by the end of the year, it was $242,393.40. So I paid down $6,624.23 of the principal, which is big cry when I look at how much I actually paid for my mortgage this year, which we will go over in my 2024 spending wrapped. But that's how mortgages work, and that's what I got for buying a house. I'm also owing, when I was getting my house, my mortgage broker encouraged me to take the first time home buyers incentive, which, fun fact, no longer exists in Canada, but it was 5 or 10% towards a new build or just a new home for first time home buyers in Canada. And it gave the government that percentage stake in your house. So I took 10%, and now when I sell my house, I owe them 10%, whether it goes up or goes down. So if my home, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if I sold it and I lost money, I would only owe them 10% of the sale. So even if I end up paying them back less than what I took, I think I actually took 30,000, but because in here I'm tracking my home as $294,500, that's what I would owe them if I sold it for that much and we're paying them back. So just to make it equal, I'm going to keep it at that. Obviously, as I'm explaining to you, it's 10%. So if I sold my home for $350,000, I would owe them $35,000. But other than that, it is no interest. And I think you pay it back when you sell or after 25 years, whatever it is. Longer? Sooner? No, sooner. And I'm not planning on staying here for 25 years, so I will just pay this back, obviously, when I sell. And that is my liabilities. Those are my liabilities. So I started the year with $294,868.86 of debt. And it is now $285,161.06 of debt. So I paid down about $10,084. No, 10. These big numbers are crazy. No, they're not. It's early. $10,084.65. Gosh, I do not work with numbers a lot. Can you tell? So I feel pretty good about that. A lot of these, this one, this one, this one, that's all no interest. This 29, this one's no interest too. The mortgage is the mortgage that, I just pay my payment. And the credit cards, again, they fluctuate and I just pay those off every month. So probably shouldn't even count those towards. Really, it's about $282,696 of debt. And the starting was $292. Yeah, so about $10,000. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that would equal that, obviously. So if you can't do the maths on that, which it seems just in your head, let's take a look at my net worth. And you know what? I feel like I should just throw, I don't know. Maybe I'll show you guys without throwing something in the pension and with. It'll look way cooler without to start. But So my net worth in January of 2024 was $9,027.91. At the end of December, it was $32,853.15, which would be a growth of $23,825.24 if my pension didn't actually exist when I started. So let's just throw it. See, it wouldn't be this high. It wouldn't be this high because it had 6 months of growth, right? And I don't know what that growth was. I guess I could just, so it went up by $6,000. Should I just say like 4,000 here? What does that do? 13,000 to 32,000. That's a growth of 19,825. I'm okay with that. So yeah, the big answer, what is my net worth? My net worth is $32,853.15. About half of that is my work pension. The other half is probably the equity in my house. As you can see, my day-to-day cash is pretty much everything that is in ynab. So if you were wondering if I had secret stashes of cash anywhere, I absolutely do not. And that's something I'd like to work on this year for sure is, building so that I'm 1 month ahead, building more of an emergency fund. But at the same time, I do really value travel. And as you'll see in my 2024 Wrapped, travel was a big part of my year. It was more than I thought it was in terms of the percentage of my spending. And I don't want to feel bad about that because I do have very high expenses right now, and I am house poor. It is my own doing. I do believe I should still have fun while I'm young and responsibly. So I just like to be more proactive about my travel spending rather than reactive. I know a lot of the time in the past it's been, okay, well, just grab money from wherever I can to cover this thing that I'm doing. It's already happening. Now I want to get ahead, even if that means I'm not going to get a month ahead as fast as I would like. I would like to plan my spending for travel and just feel good knowing that I put the money aside first and was responsible about it. So that is my net worth video. It is all out here for you guys. I feel like most of the things are already known. Like y'all, I think I'd mentioned that, I was paying on my Peloton. You knew about the couch if you watched my videos from earlier last year. You knew about the bank loan. My mom and dad one was always in there. I just wasn't always putting money towards it. And you knew I had a mortgage. So I don't think the pension's probably the biggest surprise, and probably is a good surprise, of course, because that means I actually have some money somewhere. And, you in my ynab spending videos not seeing me putting money towards retirement probably makes you feel a bit better to know that I have a pension. So yeah, and then my house, I could inflate my net worth by putting what I think I would get for my house. There's someone in my area selling a similar house for $350,000. So I think I could probably get 330 to 340 for sure. And then of course that would bring up this number, but I haven't had a realtor tell me that, and so I'd rather just put what the city has valued it at, call it a day, and I'm very happy to know. I didn't really know. I've looked at ynab, but that ynab, I don't have my Peloton in there. Not that that's really a big deal, $800, but I did end up adding that second mortgage in there. Or it's not a second mortgage. I hope I explained that well. It was an incentive that existed. I guess it is kind of a second mortgage. I did have to sign papers for it, but I didn't take out a second mortgage or something for money, just to be clear. But yeah, no, 32,000. I'm gonna work on getting it to 100, sometime in definitely the next 5 years. Considering it went up, well, I guess I went up 19,000 this year. I could probably be at, oh, sorry, I'm thinking 50 now. It'd probably be at 50 by the end of the year, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, hit 100 definitely in the next 5 years. But this has been fun to look at. I kind of put together this spreadsheet. I modeled it obviously off of ones I saw on the internet, but I kind of made all these formulas and stuff. And I mean, it's not a very snazzy formula. Anyways, now I'm just rambling. The big reveal was my net worth is $32,000. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll come back to see my 2024 spending wrapped. The results will shock you. Probably not if you've been here for a while. But that's all for me for today, and I will see you soon. Bye.